Hello, the game has started. It's my opponent to go first. I've got an awful rack, a long way from a bingo. It's unbalanced with only one vowel, and I've got a lot of high-scoring tiles. Is it bad enough to change? Well, probably not. I could play wild if opponent changes, keeping BGM, but 16 points. And I don't think BGM is worth minus 16. But it's going to be close, and if it's close, well, I think perhaps changing would be better than wild. What else do I have? I think I will have options if opponent plays, because there's going to be another vowel on the board. So through an A, I could play board, keeping glim. Still not a great rack leave. And dwalm, keeping big. I'm not seeing any 5-letter plays with my rack. So opponent taking a while on their opening play. Are they about to lay a bingo down? I would have gimbal through an A. So quite a few plays through an A. Mildew through an E. None of these candidate plays are leaving a decent rack leave. Now Vex takes a T after it. I don't have one. So I have mildew, which takes S and Y. Not a big score, 15 points. Definitely better than changing. So that's 15, keeping BG. That's 24, 9 more points. I'm going with the points. Can I do any better? Nothing goes under V, so anything I do has got to start under the E and have I in second place. So I could play lim, keeping DWG. No, this scores more and is overall better. And no vowels at all. Okay. Is now the time to change, and no floating vowels either. Well, it very much depends on what opponent does. Row H quite hot, in that there's access to a triple word square and the opportunity to put a high scoring tile on this double letter square. U takes a T. What do I have in terms of vowelless plays? HM, nowhere great for that. So I will be changing. Oh wow, nice bingo by opponent, who does provide a floating vowel. And I probably should be playing through it. The Eye of Goldish, not particularly useful. But what can I do through this? Oh, it's going to have to be a horizontal play. And I'm just trying to see how to play off 3 tiles. That's how hopeless this situation is. So I could play mob for 14. That doesn't feel best. I think I do need to play off a third tile, but how to do that? Just looking at EW, not seeing anything. Well, I've got both. 18 points, keeping DGMS. I think this is better than changing. Both takes a Y. And still no vowels. Okay. That's the way it goes. But I trail by only 50, so opponent hasn't disappeared into the distance yet. So what to do here? HM is good, but I don't have any 2-letter M plays. If I do change, I can keep R and S, which is a pretty decent 2-letter set. But I would say about 50% or higher of the times that I change, there is a playable move on the board, which is better than changing. So changing, not my strong point. Now, opponent has changed. It's my go. I am going to change. And I'm going to keep just R and S. Wow, there are some vowels in the bag. Fantastic. And 3 S's, good grief. 1 S is good, the second S is neutral, the third S is generally negative. Very few floaters on the board. There probably are some 8-letter bingos with these tiles, but none's come to mind. I think the H is the only floater. Both doesn't take an S. Not seeing anything through that. If I had a Y, I would have Fosse. U doesn't take an S. Goldish doesn't take an S. Both doesn't take an S. All these S's and no hot S spots on the board. XI takes an S. But I don't have anything which goes after EW, which would be EK and T. So the best I could do there would be SO. I'd like to get value from the P, so I could play SOF for 18 points. Keeping a decent rack leave, ARSS, is quite handy. So that remains available for a bigger score, and opponent's not provided anything else. So soft for 28, pretty good. Opponent's not going to score massively in column 15 because no big tile can go on this double letter square, and Both only takes a Y. Sophie and Lay are both good, so a Y would be a hot tile, which I can take out by doing this for 11 more points, and that's definitely worth doing, even at the expense of now creating access to this triple word square with tiles other than a Y. I'm going with this. Okay, 2 U's. I have the out prefix. Not seeing a bingo here. Where are the floaters? Pretty much nowhere. I trail by 47, so opponent has not disappeared. Only 17 points, that's good. Dub only takes an S. That's actually quite... well, it makes me think that opponent may well have an S or a blank. So what am I going to do? I want to play off 1 U, possibly 2. So I could play off 2 with U2. Well, let me consider column 15. No U's can play at the top. So what do I have which goes after last? I have T. So I can play Tour in this spot. 16 points. Or Tour, and this rack leave isn't terrible. The O definitely helps the U, and overall this is a decent 4-letter set, so even though Tour is 3 fewer points than Tour, it's a better play. Is there an even better one? I don't think so. I'm going with this. 3 R's. Wow. Okay. This seems to be a game with fairly unbalanced racks for me, but opponent still has not disappeared, but maybe now he's about to. Dub was a very suspicious play. But what am I going to do here? Yep, opponent has the blank. I'm not able to reply in kind. I've got the un prefix. But no, nothing. I'm not seeing anything. So what to do here? Oh, Well, I would like to play off my U. That doesn't play at the top of the board. I'd like to keep the board open. And I'd like to play off 1R. Hour for 7. Oh, look at this Rackley. That's awful. Maybe I should change, keeping RS. UH takes nothing. Four points. Nope, that's not good. What about keeping the U? Well, I would have to begin RO. And, well, I just can't. I don't have anything. I am changing. Get rid of that. Get rid of 2 R's. Do I keep Sawn? Yeah, because I think it goes quite well with an E. Great, I draw the Q with the U. Another bingo for opponent, back-to-back bingos. Do I have a QUA play? I do, I have Quare. Is that best? So I'm only 180 behind. This brings me back to 130 behind. Quare takes an R, not an S. Decent rack leave. Decent floaters in re-elect, and I'm creating a new decent floater. Is there anywhere better? I don't think so. Well, back to my duplicate tile problems. And I'm not seeing anything here through any of the floaters. I have Saloon plus an A. So can I sort this rack out? Another couple of floaters. Does the D make anything? I don't think so. Can't see anything at the top. I want to play off A and O. Not a great rack lead, not a great score. Definitely better than changing. Oval for 14. Yeah, I don't think the L and the N go great together. This doesn't feel like a great rack leave. If I could get rid of another O, it would be, but that means playing double O AL. I don't think that's going to happen. I quite like oval. It doesn't take out this D, so it minimally impacts available bingo lanes. I'm going with this. Now, this actually looks quite good. Dinosaur doesn't quite work. Nice double by opponent and turning over tiles. This E is still available. So this rack plus an E. No, is there a 7 here? I don't think so. Rainouts and Sutorian through a T. So what are the floaters? Does Dinosaur have an anagram? Don't think so. This rack plus an R. No. This rack plus an E. No, not seeing anything. What else is there? There's a G. Ignoramus with a G and an M. Arousing, that doesn't fit in, and I'm not seeing any anagrams. V in last place, not very good. I have an R for Quera. Is now the time to play it? I think so. This is 30 points. That's quite decent. I'm beginning to feel the game is lost even with this 30 points. I'm going to be 2 bingos behind, only 27 tiles to come with no blanks, so I'm not in good shape. So I think the thing to do is to at least keep the scoring going. If I don't keep the scoring going, then I'm definitely not going to catch opponent. 10 minutes on my clock. The only reason for my hesitation here is, do I actually have a bingo on my rack right now? Let me have another quick look. Could I have a 7? If I did, would it play? Possibly columns 4 or 6. And then it was the E floater which looked the most useful. And I couldn't see an anagram of dinosaur. Okay, so I am going with Aon for 30. Okay, this doesn't look too bad. Looks close to a bingo, and I've got the W for score, and it's balanced. So if I don't have a bingo, I've at least got toe or row at the top right. But do I have a bingo? So floating E. No, I don't think so. What about the D? Opponents played 36 points, nice score. So it could end word or ward. Not seeing anything. Double R. No, so I'm not seeing a bingo. I'm going to leave these bingo lanes alone. How many R's and T's to come? Oh, only one of each. In which case, well, there's an R on the board. $28 points. Playing off the S would get 14 more points. It's the last S. I'm going to keep it. It helps this rack lead by at least 8 to 10, and actually more than that, so it's going to be close. I'm again hesitating in case there's a bingo, which I'm not seeing. So floating E. I've got air as a prefix with stow. Tower through an R. Water with ISO. No, I'm not seeing anything. So row for 28. And I draw the Z. Any hot Z spots on the board? Nice score for opponent. They go over the 400 mark. How about a bingo? Unlikely. R. Not seeing one. E. Nope. D. No. So where are the big Z spots? Can't play it next to the T. 234 points with only 14 tiles in the bag. What a brutal game. Vex takes a T, but that's unlikely. 6 minutes on my clock. I could play Kaz for 24. This is quite interesting. Opponent may or may not be able to play in column 8. If they don't, I will. And this is likely to distract opponents, and this rack lead with the R is good. Let me count the remaining vowels. 9 out of 21, slightly vowel dry. The main problem with Kaz is the dismal score, only 24 points with the Z. What about doing this? 26 points. Yeah, and this is a nicer rack leave. Doesn't offer a big scoring spot for opponent. And this rack leave goes well with R and D. I think there's a very good chance I'll be bingoing next turn. But is this really the best I can do? Only 26 points with the Z. 5 minutes on my clock. What about the E of re-elect? Well, what I could do is this. 57 points. I think I go with this. The game is lost. But that's gifting opponent a very easy Z score. I think I prefer this. Just looking if there's something else I can do around this E to get it to play twice. If I had kept the R, I would have had res. But ZE is nice. It gives nothing away to opponent and keeps this fantastic rack leave. I'm going with this. And surely I am bingoing now. So, I have tasering through the R. What do I have through the D? Sedating and steadying, neither of which plays. Okay. I may not be bingoing, because I think the only lanes are going to be between or through the R and the E. Now, no P's to come. I'm just wondering if re-elect takes a P in front. Don't think it does. Okay, so tasering blocked. Do I have a play which ends ER? Ganister. Fantastic. So I am bingoing. But that doesn't get doubled. Do I have anything this rack plus E and D? Designate. Does designate have an anagram? I don't think so. Z takes nothing in front, so I think the only bingo lane is through this R. So 3 minutes on my clock. What are the anagrams? Ganister? Granites? Wow. Oh well, GF fails and NI, so that's hopeless. Ganister, granites. Angriest, astringe, gantries, tasering, reesting, rangiest. Okay, I think I'm perhaps ought to be grateful that I've got one which plays. Ganister for 66. Wow, quite a kind set of 6 final tiles. However, opponent likely to go out in 2, so I may only have 1 play. Wow, 54 points for an opponent, only 12 less than my bingo, and they're left with naught. So, they have font in row A and oint in row N. So this is my last go. What can I do with this rack? I've got G'd for 36. What else do I have? I've got Jow on my rack. Not seeing anywhere great for that on the board. Can I get the J doubled? Don't think so. I've got Edgy Dough on my rack. J doesn't play parallel to Femini. Yeah, 1 minute on my clock, so I'm going to play this. G'd for 42. And opponent with a choice of outs. What if they don't go out? I have, well, I don't. I was going to say I have Naoi, but I do have Chow. Do I have a second out? Possibly not. But opponent's going to struggle to... Well, they're better off just going out. "13 minutes on opponent's clock, so definitely played at a faster pace than I've played. So what's the best opponent can do? They've got font in row A for 8. Nothing with the C. Nothing in column 1. Oh, wow, opponent doesn't go out. Fantastic. So Chow for 7. 1 minute and change on my clock. Is this the best spot? Well, it's the only spot. And the final score, 377 to me, 501 to opponent, a winning margin of 124 points. So well done to opponent. Let's see what I missed. Wow, what a game. A brutal drubbing. So it was opponent to go first. They play Vex. And I play Wild for 24. That looks fine. Great bingo by opponent from an inauspicious set of tiles. Now I have all consonants, and I play both for 18. Nothing obviously better. Wow, all these vowels. Opponent changes. Gosh, look at this. Opponent has all vowels, plus a blank, and then I have all consonants. Yeah, and look at these scores. Only one above 10 points, and all of these rack leaves are, well, pretty godforsaken. So I think changing was right. And opponent does not have a bingo with this rack. Astonishing. Plays Pitter. And I have softs for 39, so I'm only 40 behind opponent. And missed bingo. So this is when opponent plays dub. And I was suspicious about his rack leave. Rightly so, since it was CELR blank. But what was playable? J2, Crumble and U, Curable and U, and Bruckle and U. So 3 missed bingos there. My rack. Phew, nothing missed by way of bingos. Utas for 30, top right. I play Tor for 13, keeping sour. Yeah, and I think the S helps this rack leave, so a 17-point difference in score. It doesn't really matter what ORU is. Does the S add 17 to OUR? Well, it's worth 8 to 10 by itself, but I think there's some synergy going on here. So I think it could be adding, well, maybe 13 or 14 points to OUR. So I think these rack leaves, well, these moves are within a couple of points of each other, in which case I prefer the play with the better rack leave, which is the one I made. And I'm taking out a hot bingo lane with suspicions of opponent having a bingo-y rack. And they do, and this time they spot their bingo, the only one, re-elect, which was good. And I have this rack. No, I won, that's nice. But taking out lots of floaters, which I didn't want to do. So I changed. Yeah, I like changing, but this is the sort of move where you really need to run it through a simulator to see if changing was the best thing to do. Fantastic pick of 7 random tiles after opponent's bingo. Bingos again, but I've drawn well. And I have Quare for 68. Opponent, having 2 back-to-back bingos, nearly has a third with devoting. Plays avid. And now this was a tricky rack. Burning the S, keeping duplicate A. That's not much fun. So what do? I play oval for 14, keeping ANOS, and I like that. Only 16-point difference in score. And again, the S is worth 10 to 12, so these moves are definitely close. Opponent's rack plays Gentile, double-double. Now, this looked very close, but no bingo. And I play UN for 30, keeping AIS. 011, Nehru, keeping OS. I think that would have been better. Not as Val heavy as UN. Wow, opponent's struggling, and I only trail by a couple of bingos. Plays KY. No missed bingo here. What do? I play Row or Row for 28, so it's not this one. D6. Yeah, I think I wanted to leave alone the bingo lane, so I'm happy with Row. Opponent plays Coma. And I thought about Zetas and switched to ZE for 31 fewer points just because the Rackley was so good and because Zetas really gifted opponent a 40-point play. And they would have had Ziff, which is a 57-point play, so I am happy with ZE. Nice play by opponent to expedite the end of the game. And look at this, I do get a bingo down. Angstia was playable, as was Ganister, so the bag is now empty. We're in the end game. I trail by 110 and the game is lost. Nice play by opponent. And interesting, Angstia would have avoided putting this vowel next to the double letter square, so would have been better. I have G'd, and now opponent doesn't go out. Font was the only out, gosh. Because G'd blocked Oint. So opponent plays 2, and finally Chow is the only out. So what a game. Well, games like this happen, and you just need to dust yourself off and move on. No missed bingos, no howling blunders. Obviously, as always, there are moves where the play one made was suboptimal, but you shouldn't beat yourself up over that because perfection is not achievable in this game. It's too deep, and the time limits are too restrictive to aspire to perfect play, but one should always aspire to improve. But an interesting game nonetheless, and regardless of the outcome of the game, you still had the opportunity to consider 10 or 12 racks with a pretty much unique board position, each of which is a puzzle in itself which you need to solve. And certainly Scrabble is enjoyable even if you lose, but more enjoyable if you win. So many congratulations to opponent again on their victory. I hope you enjoyed watching this game. Like, comment and subscribe, and I will see you next time.